In the closing days of the war, and then stayed on with the Army occupation.
Welcome to Kansas City, ladies and gentlemen.
That one taxiing in right there.
This is the completion of American Airlines Flight 1262 today. Have a pleasant stay here in Kansas City.
Kansas itself hasn't changed as much as California has. However, the cities in Kansas are getting bigger.
Is that him? No.
Well, there were 6 of us in our family. Leona lives on a farm outside of Manhattan, Kansas, and Marge lives in Milford, Kansas, and Gloria lives in Manhattan, Kansas.
Where is he?
He wanted to drive over.
When I came back from the war in 45, it was just about the same as when I left it. And right after 45, though, there was a lot of growth in some of the cities. You've seen my grandfather's farm, how the city has creeped up on it. The farm life had a lot to do with my basic background experience, and I did a lot of farm work. When it came to converting that to carrying weapons and so forth, there was no problem for me. When it comes to covering terrain or being able to be quiet, we did that when we were hunting animals, hunting ducks, hunting geese. All of that is experience most city kids never get before they go into the military service. Who's Elvin? It's it.
This is the book that I always am going to take care of.
This is Roland and I.
This is taken care of.
Roland and I were great buddies. He was always sort of looking after me. He was always a very friendly, easygoing guy. Just a heck of a nice guy. He was my hero in the story. I didn't see him die, so it just never occurred to me that he ever did. Here's Rollins. Oh, I had so many nightmares that he was living that I probably never really accepted it. Except at the time, at the burial when they had the services here for him. But I still have nightmares. He still comes back. He's the same guy he was when he left. We never talked too much about love for one another or anything like that. It was just understood. And probably maybe we'd have felt better if we did expressed it. But as far as anything else, well, I think I would have liked to have said I loved you. I received the Medal of Honor, but I give a lot of credit to the rest of the men and people who gave their lives just like my brother did.
Leaving trails of steaming vapor in their wake, United States bombers bound for Berlin to destroy armament industries in and around the Nazi war capital. In their first daylight mission over the heart of Hitler's fortress, American bombers combined with British air forces are pounding Germany with raids around the clock. A bomber limps home. In all, 68 American planes failed to return. But the next day and the next, American bombers returned in follow-up raids. Today, squadrons like these in ever-increasing numbers are taking the war home to Germany itself.
When pilot Ed Michael climbed aboard his B-17, he was given a Mars bar to eat on the trip back for energy. Ed, like most of his men, ate it right away. Maybe because the odds of coming back at all were against him.
I was 9 9 years old, I saw my first airplanes close up, flying right overhead, and something right then and there got hold of me, and I never was able to shake it loose. I was in Chicago. I was born there, May 2nd, 1918. My folks were born in this country of Polish descent. I went to Catholic school. I only completed a full 3 years. I was the kind of guy that felt I could enjoy life outside much more than inside. You know, I was a mean old kid from Chicago. There are words to describe the emotional feeling I had, the love I had for the sky and flying. That's why I joined the Army Air Corps in November 1940. I took the exam for aviation cadet training and busted by 2 points, and applied again. Meanwhile, I was working as an aircraft mechanic at Wheeler Field, Hawaii. I was on KP duty when the Japanese hit us. At the same time, they hit us at Pearl Harbor. I ran outside and the Japanese were dropping bombs on the airfield and picking off the hangars one after another. The heck with KP. I immediately headed to the duty station. I spotted another airplane just as he released his bombs, and it looked like they were headed right at me. That's when I decided to go for an open field. I dove under some canvas, but it was still half exposed. A 27 caliber machine gun slug hit within 3 inches of me and was hitting a rock. The slug went halfway through my cheek. Afterwards, the Red Cross put a piece of tape on my cheek. There were too many real casualties to concern themselves about a minor one like mine. Now, because of us being in war full tilt, I had another chance at flight school, and I finally passed my exam for aviation cadet training. I got my pilot's wings and was commissioned as second lieutenant on April 12, 1943. Then I was off to England to fly the B-17 bomber, the Flying Fortress, 364th Bombardment Squadron. April 11th, 1944, I was flying my 26th mission. I only needed 28 to complete the tour of duty. I was the pilot and I had a crew of 9 men. We were carrying 42 100-pound incendiary bombs. Our target was Stettin, Germany. We'd been in the air nearly 4 hours when the ground fire started and we were flying for the flag. But this was the worst. Then the fighters hit us, screaming out of the clouds, coming straight at us. I could see the pilots' faces as they came in, cutting into the formation to try to break us up, letting us have a 20mm cannon fire. West, Second Lieutenant Franklin A. Westberg, my co-pilot, and I were fighting to keep our plane under control. 105 enemy fighters jumped the formation. On the first attack, 20mm exploded in the cockpit, wounding Mike, Lieutenant Michael, pretty seriously in the thigh. The instruments were all shattered, the controls badly shot up. We were in a spin and trying to pull out of it, but the controls would not respond. Mike was struggling with the controls, and it took our combined weight and energy to get her flying level again. We lost about 3,000 feet, but not the fighters. We were duck soup for them now that we were out of formation. We were taking hits in every part of the plane. I knew I was bleeding badly from my right thigh, but there were just too many things going on to worry about. I had to keep the control column between my knees because the plane was vibrating so much. We were being chewed to bits.
Skipper, the whole bomb bay is on fire! We've taken hits back here! The damn place is burning like hell!
I yanked my emergency release. I was yanking like a madman. Nothing happened. The emergency bomb release isn't working. Controls are all shut up.
That fire's gonna eat through the fuselage and explode the tanks!
Everybody out! We got a fire in the bomb bay! Bail out! Bail out! I tried again to jettison the bombs, but it was useless. I'm wondering in my head, why doesn't this thing blow? And why doesn't it blow with the fuel on board and everything? And then I went after the wounded man, Staff Sergeant Joel Phillips. I checked out his parachute. He had it on backwards. I fixed it and put his hand in the pull ring and helped him jump from the plane. Go, I'll follow! That's when I found Lieb, Second Lieutenant John Lieber, still firing from the nose gun. Lieb, you're next! Get your chute on and get out of here!
Started looking for my parachute. I saw it was riddled with 20mm fragments and it was worthless. Mike took one look at it and then at me.
The bomb hole's on fire! Take my chute and go!
I'm not taking anybody's chute.
Then get the hell back there and see what you can do! Kick the bombs out of anything! Do what you gotta do!
They managed to get rid of the bombs.
Back to the cockpit. I looked at Wes. He looks at me, and I tell you, he had the scariest look on his face. I must have had it on mine, too, the way he looked at me. Lieb's down there. He shoots no good. Give him mine! He won't take mine. He won't take yours. He says he's not taking anybody's shit. We'd been under constant attack for about 45 minutes when we hit the clouds and lost the fighters for a while. Okay, I'll try to get us into France as far as possible and then crash land. We came down to about 75 feet and flew at this level across Belgium. Mike was in pretty bad shape about this time. The wound in his thigh was bleeding badly and his leg was soaked with blood and there was a good-sized pool on the floor. Lieb tried to administer first aid to him, but he wouldn't let us do anything about it. He'd lost a lot of blood and I imagine he was pretty well worn out from fighting the plane all the way. All we were doing was just praying and hoping. I'm crossing myself and praying and Wes says, "Do one for me, Mike." At one point, I thought I'd reached the English Channel, but it was the Zuiderzee in the Netherlands. I was flying pretty much by instinct. Then I looked down, and there were these Dutch farmers. They were standing there and waving their hats and pointing out the way to England.
Mike passed out. I don't know how he had held on as long as he did. It was a good thing that Lieb was there to keep him off the controls because we almost cracked up. Lieb lined us up to hit an airfield and we spotted it as soon as we crossed the English coast. I circled the field several times after having fired flares because the radio was out. Mike started recovering his strength and took over the controls. There's no undercarriage, no flaps, no airspeed indicator or altimeter. The elevator and rudder were shut up, bomb bay doors were open, and the ball turret was pointed downward.
Take my chute and go. I'll try to land this thing.
Hell no! We came this far, we're gonna come down together. The plane was so badly shot up it was junked. I spent 7 weeks in the hospital and then returned to the States. There weren't happy times for me. I didn't feel very good about ordering men out of the plane I was able to bring back. I refused to shave until I found out what happened to each of my men. That, of course, wasn't well received by the Army. This general called me in and asked me, "About that mustache and goatee, is that something personal?" I said, "Yes, sir, very personal." That was it. By the end of 1944, I had learned that 6 of my men were being held in prisoner of war camps. At least they were still alive. In early January 1945, I was told I was going to receive the Medal of Honor. So I went to Washington, D.C., beard and all. The morning of the ceremony, I got the best news. Staff Sergeant Phillips, the badly wounded engineer I'd helped bail out, was being held as a prisoner of war. I shaved. President Roosevelt presented me the medal. Wes and Lieb were there.
I didn't didn't think that I was going to like retirement at all.
Yeah, here. This is the last table.
Then you also have